Hi everybody, welcome. It's Debra Lynn here in the studio. If it's your first time here, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. Today I'm in the studio and I've got a sheet of Artistico Fabriano paper. It's 140 pounds, it's cold press. I always work in either cold press or rough. Once in a while rough when I really want things to be granulated. But for the most part, 90% of my art is, no, probably 95% of my art is cold press, and my favorite paper is this Fabriano paper. It holds up to a tremendous amount of water. I actually prefer it over arches. Nothing wrong with arches. I love arches, but the paper with that amount of water seems to work the best. And so that's what I'm working on. And what I have done, I did a very loose sketch of some flowers. Now, I may try to follow the pattern of the flowers, or once that pigment starts moving on the paper, things have a way of completely doing a 180 and changing things on you. So don't freak out if you draw some loose flowers down on your paper and you can't stay within the lines, because you know what? It doesn't matter. You know what's really cool is when somebody walks up to your art, or you even walk up to your own art and you look at it and it's not just surface paint, one level, it has depth. There's things happening in the background that are interesting. So what I want you guys to be able to create paintings that have depth, that have layers, that are interesting from afar and interesting up close, because that's very important, okay? So, and if you're trying to do abstract florals, there's gotta be something really cool happening up front, okay? Versus from far away. So doing a loose sketch is important. Now, some people, when they draw, are really heavy-handed. So here's my tip for you. I don't want you to be heavy-handed with your drawing, okay? You don't even have to worry about erasing anything, because some of this is going to be covered up, well, a lot of it's going to be covered up with paint, so you're really not going to see it. And the way to stay very light-handed with that pencil is to use a mechanical pencil, just a cheap one, that like a little Blick or whatever, you know, the cheapies that you can get, that when you write with it, the lead just snaps real easy. Perfect pencil, because you can't get heavy-handed with it. And just go ahead and just kind of loosely draw something. It doesn't even have to look like the piece that you might be drawing. It just has to have kind of the shapes and the concept. Like I said, the paint is going to cover that up, most of it. So go ahead, get your drawing down, and then kind of loosely start throwing in maybe your stems. I typically will always start with throwing in kind of some green stems and then build on top of that. Here you see me putting tissue down. This is what that is doing, is it's doing three things. It is allowing me to create depth, and it's giving me high and low values. So I'm creating levels, okay? And it's removing pigment, it's removing excess water to control the situation. And what else is it doing? I lost my train of thought. But anyway, it's allowing me to control the painting and what's going on. Because if I don't control that water, if I just keep building and putting more and more and more and more water on here, you know what's going to happen? You're going to have a painting that's getting muddy because all your colors are mixing together, and you might have cools and warms touching, and you're going to get mud. Okay, so a lot of you might say, why are you putting tissue down? You're taking the pigment away. Yes, you're taking the pigment. You spent time putting the pigment down. Now you're taking the pigment away. Now that is somebody that's more of a precise, precision painter would think, oh my gosh, she's putting the pigment down, but now she's taking it away. Why would you do that? Okay, we're not doing that kind of painting. We're doing very loose painting. So you have to think real loose, okay? You have to be willing to remove pigment, okay? You have to be willing to remove excess water. You're going to have to be willing to see things disappear that you might like, because it's all about layering. I don't know if any of you have ever watched acrylic painting, when somebody might be doing an intuitive piece or a loose piece or just abstract. They don't just draw one level. It starts with them like mark making and putting scribbles down, and you may never see the scribbles, but it's part of loosening up and getting ready. So think that way. Think more. You have to think completely different than if you're going to go do something that is got a lot more fine-tuned precision to it. Again, there's the paper again. I'm putting the paper down. I'm willing to release the pigment. I'm willing to pick up the water. I'm layering. It's all about layering. But as you can see, there is a lot of white in this painting being retained. And by doing that, if you keep a lot of white space, you're allowing openness and airiness and bright. The colors bounce against the white, okay, and keep it bright, okay? I like my colors to be popping. I want my art to be bold in color. So that's a great way to achieve that, is to have a lot of white. Now, there's tips of bringing white back into a painting, and I do that a lot, and I'll show you that in this painting also. But now I'm just layering even heavier doses of that purple down. I have the lighter ones in the background, and as I go, it gets darker, okay? Whereas if you work in acrylics and oils, I believe you do the opposite. You go from dark to light. With watercolor, you start light and you build dark, okay? So I'm just randomly just keep putting more and more pigment down. I blend it out, just touch certain edges, not every edge. I touch certain edges and blend it out there. I'm just pounding and letting the water kind of drip down a little bit, giving another layer of interest in the painting. I'm not doing it constantly. I just did it there for a second just to get that little bit of movement. And let's see, what else do I want to tell you guys? So it's all about keeping it light and bright. And oh, what I wanted to tell you when it comes to keeping it, the paper, retaining some white. Like I said, I like using the Fabriano Artistico paper. And they have, I think it's called vegan white, or it's called something, it's their extra white paper. I don't like to use traditional off-white colored watercolor paper. I like this bright white. So my paintings will always be on a much whiter paper than normal. I don't know how, if they go through some kind of bleaching kind of process to get their paper really white, but that is the paper that I choose because it really keeps my art a little bit more contemporary versus that traditional off-white, like arches kind of colored watercolor paper. So now I have all this, now I'm getting the Dr. P.H. Martin Bleed Proof White, and I'm dropping that in to that pigment and water that is pretty wet on that paper. And what this is doing is it giving me that bokeh effect that I love. It gives me the little round dots, and sometimes they'll spread out, and it's fabulous. So you guys must try it. Okay, so here's my painting. Thank you so much for joining. And until next time, be safe, be well, and God bless. Bye for now.